Where do I go with all these feelings and all these faces and open doors when everyone else seems so serene and I just feel so insecure? And where do I go when all the pieces of my heart lay on the floor? You say, come into the light, why don't you? Come into the light, why don't you? Come on now, come into the light. Where do I go with all these memories and all these bags filled up with shame? And how should I feel when you call me an angel and dress me in a crown of gold? And what should I do when tears of sorrow just won't stay inside these eyes? You say, come into the light, why don't you? Come into the light, why don't you? Come on now, come into the light. What should I do when a gentle-headed reaches out to take my own? And how should I feel when tears of joy, they just won't stay inside these eyes? And what will I do when I start to love you and really trust and know you're there? You say, you'll be in the light where I am. You'll be in the light where I am. Come on now, come into the light. You'll be in the light where I am. You'll be in the light where I am. Come on now, come into the light.
So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, wherever you are. And my warmest greetings and welcome. My name is May, and I'm very pleased to host today's workshop, Transformative Tools to Heal the Heart of the Soul. This is part 2 of our Healing Heart and Soul series with Sister Masana. We are very honored to have her all the way from London and for 3 sessions. So today's workshop will be a mixture of wonderful tools shared by her and also an opportunity to participate in some practical exercises, which we highly recommend that you do with us. So towards the end, we will invite you to unmute and share your experiences or ask any questions you might have for Sister Masana, or otherwise type it in the chat box. So to introduce our special guest, Sister Masana, she had her first degree in social work and psychology, and then a master's degree in social policy and planning in developing countries. She's had a nursing career of 50 years and is still part-time in the School of Nursing in London. She's been a coach and counselor for over 30 years in the UK, and she offers talks, workshops, retreats on personal and spiritual development. Part of her experience is that she has co-created, managed, and trained professionals in the first conflict mediation center in the Caribbean in Jamaica in 1989. She also managed the oldest community multicultural mediation center in the UK for neighbor disputes. And she's trained volunteer mediators from many cultures and also trained school children in conflict resolution skills. She is also a teacher of Raja Yoga meditation at the Global Corporation House in London for the last 20 years. So that's a lot about Sister Masana. And it's really great that we can tap on to her experience with us today and really to heal the heart of the soul. And what that means, Sister Masana can explain, because it's not just heart, physical heart, but the soul. So welcome, Sister Masana.
Thank you so much. Om Shanti, greetings of peace, greetings of love to each and everyone. And thank you, Sister May, for that beautiful introduction and welcome. And I anticipate that some of you maybe came to the first session and others maybe are joining for this session for the first time. And wherever you are in the process, that is okay. So I will recap a little of what we were exploring in the first session, and it also is recorded online on YouTube. And we're going to continue to go deeper into looking at transformative tools to heal the heart of the soul. So, like the song that was played just now, it's about becoming very present to the different feelings and emotions that can arise from within. And when I refer to the heart of the soul, I am referring to the conscious mind of the soul. And that's where all our thoughts are created. And the world out there thinks that it's everybody else's thoughts that then I take in. However, on the spiritual journey, understanding this deep spiritual knowledge, I become more and more aware that I, the soul, creates every thought. And every thought creates a feeling. And then every feeling creates an intention. So before I come into sound, into action, communication with others, by practicing meditation, I am learning to slow down my thoughts, become the gentle, compassionate observer of my own thoughts, and choose to create ones that come from the inner eternal spiritual qualities of the soul, eternal peace, unconditional love, happiness, joy, wisdom, and spiritual powers that are going to bring me more inner strength, patience, tolerance, and the ability to pause, to put a full stop when I, the observer of my mind, realize I'm slipping into old negative thoughts, negative feelings. And I describe these as old, false, negative beliefs. So maybe make a note of that in your notebook. False, negative beliefs. Some examples of those: I'm not worthy. and maybe put those down, and as others occur to you that are going on in the background in your mind at times, these false negative beliefs, are what I have gathered, accrued from family, the society, the race, the culture, the gender that I ascribe to. And so every now and then it's very important through meditation and these reflective practices to be able to pause and check, am I under the illusion of a false negative belief? So beside that heading you've got in your notebook, false negative belief, then put on another column beside it with another heading, language of the heart. Positive affirmations. Those negative false beliefs first in practice, then you can bring that into your own practice. So I'm not worthy. Take out the negative words and see what remains in the positive in the now. I am worthy. So you put that under the language of the heart. Another one, I'm not lovable. Again, take out the negative words. I am love. So even take out the lovable. I am love. That is the truth. False negative. I am not enough. So put that under negative false. I.
Sorry, Sister Masana. Somehow the volume the mic drops out once in a while. But
I'm
yeah,
not
it's
sure
okay
what
now.
to do.
Mm.
I'm so sorry because this side, the Wi-Fi looks like it's fully on. So
Mm.
I
Okay.
don't know
If
what
it
else I can
happens,
do.
we'll just ask you maybe to repeat the last sentence or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Just let me know when it drops down. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Okay. So I had said, I am love. Each time, take out the negative words from the negative false belief, then you get a positive affirmation. So the last one, I am not enough. Turn it into a positive affirmation. I am enough. This is a very powerful one to explore, to meditate, and journaling. Because at times when you reflect on, I am enough, start to have gratitude. Start to list all your qualities, your strengths, your skills, how you have come through different challenges in life. Be kind, be gentle to self. This is so important. Okay, so that's homework you can continue to play with. And of course, when you've created these positive affirmations, then start using them. So as the gentle, compassionate observer, detached, when I realize I'm beginning to, my emotions and feelings are dropping and I'm starting to feel negative, realize, oh, hold on, I am enough. I am love. Okay, so the practice before coming into sound. Emotions. The word emotions, if you spell it, E-motions, and the E representing energy, energy in motion. So think of that. Anytime you have very strong feelings flowing through the body, Remember, they're emanating from the conscious mind of I, the soul. Then it is passing through the body. And that's energy. When you're feeling happy, you feel light. When you're feeling sad or depressed, the energy is heavy. The body feels sluggish. So emotions is important to remind myself as that gentle, detached, compassionate observer of what is going on. Sometimes the body will demonstrate to me before the mind of I, the soul, has recognized I've slipped into a negative space. And for a moment, check each of you. Where in your body do you first feel stress or strain or worry or anxiety or fear? For me, it's the stomach, and then you know what release is. Some it's palpitations in the heart. Some it's I can't catch my breath. Some it's the shoulders go up, or you get a headache or backache. So that is the body barometer telling me that I, the soul, am out of balance. Then instead of being the inner critic, you are learning to become, you are choosing to become your inner best friend, inner coach. So it's check and change, check and change. Every now and then will keep bringing you back into balance. So emotions are an integral part of the human experience. They shape our perceptions and interactions with the world around us. And so being able to manage and understand our feelings can often be a challenging endeavor. However, this is all taking us towards emotional well-being. Share a few slides now. So the transformative power of love. Love is so powerful. It's not the Bollywood, Hollywood, Valentine's here today, gone tomorrow that the old world talks about. No, we're talking about the power of spiritual love, which maybe make a note. You could draw a beautiful heart. Hopefully you've got some colored pens there. It's compassion, courage, caring, sharing, generosity of spirit, deep listening. So many aspects to true love. So pure love is stronger than fear. It is essential at this critical time for the whole of humanity. If we look at any of the news that's going on the world stage, we can see the chaos, the confusion, the conflicts are continuing to increase. However, where does that start? It starts within the conscious mind of either soul. So I'm either in a place of love, which is stronger than fear, or I'm trapped in those false negative beliefs, judgments, criticisms, blame, attack, prejudices. So either I go into the fear or I stay in love. So we're continuing to explore what are some other tools that can bring me back. Because we are one world family. Our bodies have many different shapes, colors, sizes. Yes, be us in a baby's body, a child, an adult, a different ethnicity, race, gender. Yet we are all one human family on one planet. And so the more I can be aware of, as an observer, bringing myself into the understanding, I am so much more than what society, family, the race, the gender told me I am. I'm actually a child of God. And within me, I have a great capacity to live my life from an authentic place of truth. So authentic communication, think about that. What does it mean for you to be authentic in the way you communicate with yourself, with the divine, and with others, be them those that are close to you, family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, or anyone on planet Earth? And I've put a few thoughts on this, and you can add to it. So being authentic in your communication, listen to your spiritual heart with attention. Be true to self. So rather than saying what somebody else has said, really dive deep within you to access your own wisdom, your own truth, and have the courage to speak when moved to speak. And this means when inside you know you have something that you really would like to share with another. It's not that superficial chat of talking about the weather or gossiping about somebody in a derogatory way. It's speaking from your inner wisdom. Respect for yourself, no matter what. Respect yourself. Then I can see with more respectful eyes to the other, rather than focusing on another person's weaknesses. I focus on they too are a soul, and they too are part of the human family. And let me focus on that. Listen with an open heart and an open mind to others, which is again checking your thoughts, your feelings, and listening with curiosity. A friend of mine said, always listen with that curiosity of, what else can I learn about this person from their worldview? Because all of us at times live in our own inner world. And so when somebody is really sharing, really take the time to listen. It's like a little child. A little child will have such curiosity about everything. So at this stage in our life, can I hold that open heart, open mind, rather than the rigid prejudices? And sorry, it's right at the bottom of the page. Be compassionate with self and others. Okay, so there's quite a lot else you can add to that. And the more that I practice being authentic with myself, then the more I am engendering that between myself and others. So a wonderful language to practice. I referred to fear before, and maybe it could be put in the chat, spelt going down. F, capital F, and below that capital E, below that capital A, and below that capital R. And it's an anagram for false, so F for false, A for appearing, sorry, F for false, E for evidence, A for appearing, and R for real. So false evidence appearing real is so often caught up in virtual reality. Check it out for yourself. I suggest that most fears, anxiety, stress that may flow through the mind of soul during the day, by the end of the day, have those fears really appeared? Have they manifested? No. However, the body is probably exhausted, the mind is stressed out. The adrenaline that's been pumped from the brain to the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys will have been zooming around the body and will have caused a lot of damage. So we're going to explore how I can move through fear, which so often is virtual reality. Of course, if I'm experiencing something like stepping out in the road and I see a car coming straight at me at great speed, then that adrenaline that is pumped within the body is going to cause the muscles of the body to move much quicker. The heart will beat quicker, and I will jump out of the way of the oncoming car. So when there is a real threat, then yes, it's useful to then act. However, so many fears nowadays are false, are virtual reality. And so we are going to learn how to channel and use the fear in a way that moves me from either fight, flight, or freeze into the flow. And we'll look at that a little later. However, fight is when I start with violent communication. And then that creates anxiety within, anxiety and stress and conflict with another. Flight is when I avoid, when I am in denial. And freeze is when I'm frozen and I'm in shock. So we're going to continue to explore how to be in the flow of life, coming back into that inner balance I was referring to. Remember, I'm either in fear or in a place of love, which is compassion, kindness, caring, sharing, generosity. So let's look at this chart and feel free to take a screenshot. So we're going to focus on the orange circle first. So this is your comfort zone. So right now you're probably feeling safe and in control. You're relaxed. You're in your own home, in your own environment. And so this is a wonderful space to be, your comfort zone. However, at times when I need to move into a new environment or to have a conversation with someone that I know will be quite challenging or new experiences, I then can move, following this arrow, into the fear zone because I have a lack of self-confidence because it's something new and I'm not quite sure or confident about how to do something. And maybe I will go into avoidance and find excuses. Or I'll be affected by others' opinions. That's an important one to flag up. Where do I give away my inner power? It's a powerful question to ask yourself. Where do I give away my inner power and allow other people's judgments to affect me? So it's, again, being that compassionate, detached observer of self when I hit that fear zone. However, we're going to keep moving forward. And the next zone, the yellow one, is the learning zone. So this is learning how to deal with challenges and problems. And some of the tools we're using and experimenting with now will help with that. It's having the courage, which is a spiritual power, to acquire new skills. So each of us will, as we have traveled through life, hit that point of the fear, I can't do this, I'm not worthy, it will not happen, to saying, yes, I can. So yes, I can is a key one to add to the learning zone. So you extend your comfort zone. You become stronger, you become wiser, because challenges and problems come not to defeat us, they come to actually make us stronger. It doesn't necessarily feel like that at the time. And that's why it's so important to bring the love and compassion into your conscious awareness. And the yes, I can. And then you'll be surprised how there'll be some help there when I look out past the fear and look at new possibilities. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm sure each of you have had an experience of that. So remind yourself when you hit the next challenge and say, hold on, let me take care of myself, let me be gentle, and then let me look at new possibilities, new opportunities. So we continue to move along the arrow to the green. And this is the growth zone. So every time I build my confidence, every time I move from fear to yes, I can, and to compassion and love, then I find purpose. I find purpose in my life. A powerful question to ask yourself when you journal or meditate. What is my true purpose for being in this body, this race, this gender, this age, this society? What is your true purpose? Live your dreams. Tap into maybe something as a child you were hoping to be when you grew up, and you realize you haven't fulfilled all your dreams. And I'm not talking necessarily about material ones. I'm talking about the self-actualization of bringing out more of your creativity. Maybe bringing your wisdom and knowledge to share with others. Being kinder to yourself and others. Whatever it is, climbing a mountain. Set new goals. So what else would I like to explore in my life? Where did I trap myself in that fear zone? And what am I ready now to step into? Remember, moving from the negative false beliefs into creating positive affirmations. Because what the world needs now, more than anything, what each of us need is to move from fear to love and bring that light back into the consciousness of humanity. However, I always need to start with self. So conquer objectives. So when those negative, no, I can't, I'll never do it, I'll never succeed, say, I am going to take that next step of courage. Okay. So another little useful chart. Choose to move from fear to flow. Remember, I said when fear comes up, there are three main ways that human beings have been socialized to deal with it, either to go into fight, which is violent communication of self, negative thoughts, then when I speak negatively to others. And then some people out there in the world will use a fist, a knife, a gun, a bomb. We see that happening all around us. So the fight mode is one I need to recognize. Do I sometimes go into flight avoidance or into freeze? So now those all are stemmed from fear, the false evidence appearing real. And what we are focusing on is to come into the flow. Think of a river. A river, when it is blocked, then it cannot continue that energetic movement. When I am blocked inside, I'm trapped in the fear. So flow, and you can make your own acronym, and the one that I am using is F for face it. So face the fear, see it for what it is. It is an illusion. Let go of the false negative belief. Become that gentle, compassionate observer of self. What's the feelings? What's the need I have in this moment? How can I bring that powerfully into my awareness and be more who I truly am on a positive level, which takes willpower. And willpower is the spiritual powers that I take in meditation when I connect with the divine, with God, Supreme Soul, the power to pause, the power to pack up waste thoughts, the power to retreat within, the power to discern, the power to tolerate, the power to make decisions from a reflective place, the power to face and have courage, and then the power to cooperate. So how to move from the love of power. So many people are under the illusion that of external power. So where do I get trapped in somebody else trying to tell me what to do or criticize? Or where do I try and tell other people what they should do or ought to do? So the love of external power can be damaging for self and others. Whereas when you turn that round and move from the love of power to the power of love, we can create a very different world, a world family of harmony and unity. So dreaming without fear, love without limits. So the essence is love yourself. And so I'm going to stop there for a moment. And that's quite a lot to take in. And I don't know if there's any question at the moment before I'm going to offer an exercise for us to practice. Just checking to see if there's any questions. So in a moment, I'm going to invite those of you, hopefully all of you would like to experience this. And it's going to be an opportunity to go into a breakout room with one other person and have a listening exercise. In my experience personally, and in supporting many people around the planet, that us human beings have often lost the art of deep inner listening, listening to self, and then holding that sacred space for another to be listened to without interruption, without questions, without trying to tell them what to do. Giving that sacred space allows that speaker to go deeper into their own inner wisdom. And often something that's been submerged, repressed, depressed can come out, that can be another guiding light for that person. So I really encourage you to have this experience. It will be for 10 minutes, 5 minutes for the person who's going to speak. I'm going to put the instructions up on the screen in a moment. There'll be 5 minutes of one person speaking, and I will suggest what you could speak about. And then there will be that silent listener. Then there'll be a minute of silence. And then the listener will become the speaker, and this first speaker will become the listener. And so the second speaker gets a chance to speak for 5 minutes. And this is very powerful, and it's a wonderful practice to then use in your life. So first, I'd like, if you could put up in the, on your screen, you will have reactions. So if you could put up, you could put up a heart or any of those symbols or the thumb and indicate that you would like to have an experience of this listening exercise. It will be very safe, very confidential, and I'm going to be telling you in a moment what the question is. So let me, whilst you're putting up on the screen how many of you would like to experience this, I'm just going to whatever is shared is not going to be shared by anyone else. So the exercise is the first speaker, whoops, sorry, it's gone to the next. We'll talk about an experience when you transformed a negative habit. So we've all had some experience of where we have transformed something. So you can talk about experience when you transformed a negative habit. What was it that you brought in that helped you? Or you could share an act of kindness that you received from another. So write down whichever one it is that you would like to speak about. And if you choose not to go into the listening exercise, then you'll be able to do it on your own and write about it. However, it's even more powerful to have a listening partner. So either talk about an experience when you transformed a negative habit. So when the two people go into the breakout room, quickly choose who will be the first speaker, and the listener will listen with positive attention, with no interruptions or questions. So listening, creating that sacred space. And the listener will say when the 5 minutes are up. It's really important not to go over the 5 minutes. If the speaker runs out of things to share, then speaker, enjoy the silence that the listener is holding for you. Because in my experience, when I go quiet again, something deeper will be revealed from the unconscious, the subconscious mind of either soul, which can bring out more wisdom. So experiment with that. At the end of that 5 minutes, have a minute of silence, then swap roles. Then the first listener becomes the second speaker. The first speaker becomes the second listener. And again, the speaker can choose either to talk about an experience when you transformed a negative habit, or you could share an act of kindness that you received from another, and how did you feel inside? So first speaker, remember, that's the second part to that. How did you feel inside? Again, second listener, you hold that sacred space. Listen with positive attention, no interruption or questions. Speaker, if you run out of things to say before the end of 5 minutes, then that's okay. Enjoy the silence that the listener is holding. And sometimes you'll find deeper wisdom will come from deep within your subconscious mind that will guide you. And then a minute of silence, and then we will come back together. So you can take a screenshot of that. I'm going to come back to the present. So have we, has everyone indicated who would like to go into a breakout room? Sister May, how are we doing with that?
I think there are a few. Maybe we should see if there's anyone who would not like to.
Okay.
I think there's about, just hold on. There was 2 with an indication.
Right. Because remember, in order to learn new tools, I need to practice. So remember that the screen I had with about the comfort zone and the fear. So feel the fear and do it anyway. That's how I learn. That's how I move from the fear zone into the growth zone, into healing. So I really encourage you to experiment with this. So I'm going to leave it up now to if you can create the breakout rooms. If you choose not to go in the breakout room, then do this, use the question and write about it, explore it for yourself. So join now, where you see, click on the blue box with join, and you will find this is a very powerful experience. Click on join. And please put on your videos when you're in the room together, because deep listening means you need to be able to see each other. It'll be totally private, totally confidential. Chosen not to join. So then you've got the questions. Think about it, reflect on it, write about it, and see what you learned from that experience. Everyone will come back together in this main room. Can you put in the chat what's your experience? What did you discover about yourself? Anything that you would like to share? And then as others join us. So welcome back, everyone. And hopefully it was a useful exercise, and that both the speaker and the listener had enough time to be able to experience being one of each role. And before I move on, Is there anyone that would like to either unmute and share what that experience was like to be listened to? Oh, okay. Nikki says they forgot to have the minute of silence in between, which, okay. However, make a note of it because it's really important to have silence between speaking and then moving on to the other person. And in that silence, I didn't say it at the time. However, it's actually giving thanks for what the person has shared. Give thanks and let it go. And the listener gives thanks for what I heard, let it go. So these are very much about bringing in gratitude in every way. So anyone like to share in essence, what was it like to be listened to without interruption? So Palmer says, deep listening enables deep connection with the other person. We learned from each other. Oh, beautiful. That's the essence of it. Yes, by listening to each other, I learn more about myself and more about another. So I'm creating bridges between the heart of self and the heart of the other through authentic communication. Beautiful. Anyone else like to share? What was it like to speak without being interrupted? Well done, everyone, for the effort that each of you are making. And now I'm going to move on to another PowerPoint and okay, sorry. Let me just move this out of the way. So I'm going to introduce nonviolent communication, and please may put it in the chat, the link. I know you sent it out to those that registered and those that came last session. However, in case there are those that didn't receive it. So nonviolent communication is often referred to as NVC. It's the language of the heart by Marshall Rosenberg, created it. And I say it's the language of the heart because although it's got two negative words in it, non-violent, it actually is the language of the heart. And I was so pleased when Marshall, when I was at one of his programs years ago, and he said, I regret that I called it nonviolent communication. It was in the whole field of conflict resolution. He says, really, it's about the language of the heart. So it's removing the negativity. So we already have the authentic communication. So the definition of nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, it's a way of thinking, speaking, and acting that contributes to mutual connection and cooperation. So each of you that went into the breakout room, I would imagine you felt that connection. Hopefully you did put on your videos and could feel that energetic exchange in a safe space to be able to open your heart and speak your truth. So connection is something I'd like you all to become more aware of. When you connect your mind and your heart of the soul, your feelings and your thoughts with your intention authentically, then you are bringing a gift of yourself when you connect with another. And when the other opens their heart with integrity, compassion, and honesty, then it's a mutual connection and cooperation flows. So remember, we're focusing, moving away from fear into the flow. So there's spiritual vision and practice. In NVC's worldview, everyone's needs and feelings matter. And this is a very powerful, when I first heard this, it really gave me a deeper insight. Every criticism, judgment, and expression of anger is the tragic expression of an unmet need. It's a very powerful way to reframe how anger is seen. Every criticism, judgment, expression of anger is the tragic expression of an unmet need. So let's understand a little more about needs and feelings. And when you go on the link, the NVC one, I invite you all to download and save a copy of the vocabulary of needs and the vocabulary of feelings. So here is a way to remember we all have feelings. They come from the thoughts generated in the mind, the conscious mind of either soul. And when I have negative feelings, the sad, the angry, scared, worried, there are many negative feelings. I'm sure you all can make a list of them, and you will find it on the link that you can get the bigger vocabulary. So when I am in the place of negative feelings, fear, the false evidence appearing real, is up in my mind, that virtual reality I close down. And that's called body consciousness on a spiritual level. However, what we are focusing on is transforming these feelings into positive feelings, which is the purest energy is love, the caring, the sharing, the generosity. And this is soul consciousness, when I'm moving away from the blame game into these feelings of happy, content, peaceful joy. These are all spiritual, eternal qualities. Okay? So these are the feelings. Needs are universal human values. When you look at the vocabulary, there are many different needs relating to the physical, the social, the mental, the spiritual. And I've taken out the 5 main needs that as a human being, we all have a need for. Check it out for yourself. 1, need to feel safe. Remember that diagram with the comfort zone. Need to be listened to. So quite a few of you had an experience of being listened to just now. And need to be understood. A need to be respected. And a need to be accepted. So are you willing to accept me? Even though I may have different views to you, do you still accept that I too am a human being and have different views? Yet can we dialogue? Can we listen and dialogue with each other? So these 5 main needs, make a note of. Okay. Just see. It's useful when you are having a disagreement with someone. Let's say, focus on someone that is close to you, that you usually have a safe relationship with and open communication. Maybe it's a close family member, a close friend, or a colleague where there is sufficient trust. And yet there's been a misunderstanding, a breakdown in communication. Please take a screenshot of this so you'll be able to do some inner work with this in a moment. I will give you an example of this once I've talked through the 4 steps. So this is how to create a bridge when you experience a wall going up between you and the other, where there is normally trust and mutual respect. because we always start with where there is safety. Yes. So the first step is to observe. Remember, being that gentle, compassionate, detached observer. And the NVC, Nonviolent Communication process, begins with neutral, non-judgmental observation. I'll give an example of that in a moment. Then you describe your feelings, not positions or issues, so not to go into judgment or criticism or blame. That will only cause another wall to go up. And identify the needs, the universal human values. Remember, I shared 5 main ones, so it will probably be either a need for respect or safety or understanding, acceptance or listening. And then very importantly is to make a request rather than a demand. A demand says, you must do this, you've got to change. Rather, a request is, so would you be willing? So I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to ask you now to create your own in a moment, an I statement. So first of all, I'll give an example. And I'm going to give an example that quite a few of you may relate to. So when my son used to live at home as a teenager, so I observe first, when I step into the kitchen and find dirty dishes in the sink. Okay, so that's the observation. I'm not saying you put all the dishes in the sink. I observe in a neutral, non-judgmental way. When I come into the kitchen and find many dirty dishes in the sink, and then how do I feel in that moment? So I describe the feeling. So I don't go into, I'm the mother and you're the child and you should have done this, because that will only create conflict and separation. And we're looking for connection. So I describe the feeling. I feel disappointed and frustrated. And then I identify the need.
Sorry, Sister Masana. I think we missed that whole line. We didn't hear you.
Which one? The need?
The third line.
Okay, thank you. So to identify the needs, remember the 5 main universal human values. It could be a value. There are many other needs. A need to be listened to, a need to feel safe, a need to be accepted, understood, or respected. So I'm saying, and my need is to be respected. So make a request. So would you be willing to wash the dishes before I start preparing dinner so we can enjoy a relaxed evening together? Okay, so the key is to keep the word you out at the beginning of the blame, and at the end to offer a suggestion of a way forward. Remember, it's going to be an ongoing dialogue. So I'd like you to practice that now. I'm going to give you a few minutes to write your own statement. So what I suggest is, for a moment, think of somebody that you usually have a very trusting, open relationship with. However, there's a breakdown in communication right now. Not a big one. Don't start on a level of 1 to 10. 10 is the most serious breakdown in communication. Always start with something smaller, because we're practicing. As you become more proficient, you can use it on more complex situations. So where there's been a misunderstanding, think of that for a moment. Think about what was it that triggered you to be upset? Was it that somebody in a meeting interrupted what you were saying? Or was it like the untidiness in the home? Whatever it was. So the first step, observe, write that down. When I observe or when I experience, start it like that. The second step, the feelings. How did you feel inside? Upset, disappointed, embarrassed? Can you listen? Or is there a disagreement about different worldviews? Are you willing to understand what I'm seeking to share? And then the fourth part, would you be willing? So I'll give you a few moments for that. Maybe we could play a little music in the background. And as soon as you've created it, can you put it in the chat? Because some examples, then I can coach you on how to improve it. So if you're willing, please put in the chat. It's not about, is it right or wrong? I am seeking to use what you're sharing and give you more insight on how you can improve it. So even if the other person is avoiding to talk, I first have to be clear on myself, being compassionate and loving to self. And this exercise will help me to understand myself more and understand the other. Even if someone isn't willing to speak, that's another step how we create this. First, I need to practice this and get this with a lot of practice. And this is where the listening exercise comes in, because I would first practice it with somebody else who's willing to listen. So either in the chat, can one put it, or if you'd like to speak it, then I can coach you how to improve it. Then everybody will learn from that. Anyone willing to have the courage to share?
Can I try it?
Yes, please do.
So the first step was to observe. So do I name what I observed? Like for here? I observe someone in the family speaking rudely to someone else who is not part of the family, but in my home. So yes, and I find the other person shutting down and not wanting to listen, and that happening quite often. Yeah.
So that's the first step. And how you feel? What is your feelings?
I guess I feel disappointed. I think mostly disappointed. Yeah. Disappointed that it happens repeatedly. Yeah.
And your unmet need and your need?
I think my need for harmony and Need for keeping everyone's feelings light and positive.
Beautiful. So maybe that bit is for the last part for, so would you be willing? What is the request?
Would you be willing to help the other or maybe would you be willing to be more patient with the other person and understand that they are still learning and that everyone has different capacities? Would that be right?
Okay, beautiful. And if you stepped into the shoes of the other, do you feel they'd be more open to listening rather than demanding that they're more patient and more tolerant?
Maybe the first part of the sentence was okay. Maybe I shouldn't say too much.
So less is more.
Yeah, maybe.
Wonderful. So when I can, and that's why it's the practice and also having a listening partner so they can step into the shoes of the other person that I'm choosing to give feedback to, because I'm practicing first. Practice makes perfect. And then I can bring it to the essence. Because when there is a breakdown in communication, then both people, the minds are shutting down and going into blame game or sorrow. And so the more I can distill it down to the essence in a way that is with compassion, then more likely a little step of the bridge starts to rebuild. What you shared, though, May, was beautiful. Yes? So I was just suggesting bring it more to the essence. And next time I'd like you to use an example where it's you experiencing it rather than you observing to others in a misunderstanding. Because the more I can apply it to myself with another person, then that's even another level. Is that okay?
Could you give an example of what you just said? Sorry, to understand it better.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
What you told me to put yourself on the other side. If you could give an example for better understanding, please.
Okay, so this is another level to it, and it's homework practice. First practice with the first. What I'm saying is, when I really am, remember one of the universal human needs is a need to be understood. So it's like that first listening exercise. By listening without interrupting, I'm beginning to understand the other person more. So when I have a misunderstanding with somebody, first I do the inner work and check my own feelings, my own unmet need, and give time to deal with that. And then I can step into the shoes of the other. What did it feel like that they were interrupted me in a meeting, or keep on leaving the kitchen in a mess, even though they know I need to come in and cook, right? So I need to understand, well, with son, he was distracted with homework or he was stressed at school. So the last thing he was thinking of is washing dishes. So it takes time to understand. And this is where the practice comes in. Okay.
Sister Masana, I have another question.
Yes.
When you listed out the needs, isn't it like being dependent on others for meeting my needs? So where does the question of being emotionally independent in relationships and being self-reliant come into the picture?
Wonderful. Excellent question. So I was given the example of nonviolent communication, the traditional way it's taught out there in the world. However, oops, sorry, I'm trying to get back to us. However, we now on the spiritual path are taking it to a next level. And it is about me first recognizing, as I said, being that detached, compassionate observer of self. So where I described the need for the dishes to be washed, really first, now I've learned, it's coming back into my own self-respect. It's giving myself, okay, Masana, you really need a clean kitchen. However, can you just go in there and wash those dishes and stay in your self-respect? Then find a time later during the week on a weekend where you and your son can sit down and you listen to him, because you're back in your self-respect. It's not really about the dishes. It's more about the relationship between self, mother, and son. And what can I do to keep that relationship strong? So it is very much now using this model to identify my unmet need and the feelings triggered by it, and then take responsibility for meeting my own need. Because if I'm under the illusion that everybody else, for example, has to respect me, then I've lost the plot. When I respect myself, when I come back into my inner peace and self-compassion, then I am not influenced. I don't allow external power to affect me. Other people's opinions don't affect me in the same way. I stay in my self-respect and I offer that to others and recognize when they are in their pain and sorrow, I don't take it on to myself. I can stay with compassion. There are times, though, where I need this I statement to be able to clear the air where myself and another are in deep misunderstanding. And so rather than allow the tension to increase and build up, once I have understood myself more, I then would like to have a conversation and say, can we talk about what happened in that meeting yesterday? And would you be willing for us to sit somewhere quiet and explore? Because I'd like to understand more what you said. So that's taken it to another level. Does that help?
Thank you.
Okay, so there was one.
Sister Masana, I have a question here.
Please go ahead.
Can you able to hear? Does this 4 steps applies to verbal and non-verbal as well? For example, non-verbal is basically action that took place. But how about slender words?
So are you saying how would you manage that in a compassionate way where you feel there's
Yeah.
non-verbal
That's right.
disrespect, or can you give me a bit more
Yeah.
understanding?
Well, in this case, for example, here we're looking at the situation of an action, which is non-verbal, okay? And then we use the 4 steps. But if it's verbal, say, for example, splash of words being said, which is more unkind to be heard, you know? So will the approach be similar?
So the non-verbal would be what? Give me the example of what that was.
For example, non-verbal in the sense that something more hurting. Example, things which has been well, I can use a word like slandering a word. For example, I find you dumb, somewhere in the line.
So that's
Yeah.
verbal, though. That's not non-verbal.
Non-verbal is actions. Actions means for what the person has done, then we can sort of walk through this. So in this case, I don't find the person has done something which is something actionable based. But what the person has done is, when I say the word words, means like something has been spoken about you, which you don't feel good about.
Okay. All right. So if I've understood correctly, maybe I've heard that somebody was gossiping about me and
Exactly.
saying
Yeah.
derogatory. And obviously, I take that hurt within. So that's where I do the inner work. I go away and I give myself some self-care. And then I ask myself the question. I become my inner best friend. I say, Masana, what are your feelings in this moment? Well, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling shocked, disappointed. So I identify the feelings. And then I say, what was it that caused you to have those feelings? Well, it was that somebody spoke about me with disrespect and they spoke behind my back. Then I can ask myself the question, because I'm becoming now my inner coach. What would you have preferred them to have done?
Approach.
And that question, when I go into some silence, first taking care of myself, my feelings, understanding what the trigger is, then maybe the answer will come up. What would the answer be for you? What would you have preferred them to have done?
Or something good about you which you want to be heard,
Okay.
that they have said. In a sense,
So
more like you go away feeling happy.
you would definitely prefer they said something positive about you.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Information.
And also it may be that for what comes to me is I would prefer they come and speak to me in private.
That's right.
And if they choose to give me some feedback,
approach.
I prefer it in private.
That's right. In private, yeah. It's a one-to-one, basically, then.
Exactly. Now
Rather
that
than being
takes
in
courage. And
okay.
many people in the world, both in spiritual life and out there generally in the world, or in family life or workplace, are too scared to be authentic in their communication. Because remember, authentic communication is be true to self, self-respect and respect of others, and deep listening. Listening is essential. And so to encourage someone to speak to me in private without the blame, rather than helping each one to understand each other, which means I need to practice listening and allow the other to speak, and then the other speaker give time to listen and let the other one speak. So it creates a more equal dialogue. And in order to create that, I first need to practice listening with a trusted person. So I have more courage when I am ready now to say, would you be willing for us to have a private conversation?
That's right. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah, then
Yes.
that gives me, like what May said, an outcome of harmony.
Beautiful. Exactly. And more mutual understanding.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. So there's a couple of examples here. So Malma, I'm not sure if I pronounced your beautiful name correctly. I observe that I'm not given time to have a break during the weekend from household chores, and I need some space alone. This makes me feel angry and depressed. Would you consider taking care of some tasks so that our weekend is more comfy for all of us? Beautiful. Well done. That's an excellent example. Palmer, when I come to the office, the computer station and the files I am working on are moved to another space in the office. Okay, so you've started it, so you need to continue with, then the next step would be your feelings, what your need is, and then Would you be willing? Okay, so a great start. Okay. So we were going to have a stretch break. However, I'm aware of time. So please at least stand up from your computer or your phone and have a little stretch. Yes. Yeah. Take some deep cleansing breaths and stretch, and maybe do some neck, head rolls. And you can breathe in and let out. Do stand up. I'm not standing up because on camera. However, and then you can maybe twist, you swing your arms and twist and give yourself a little self-care. Okay, so I need to do a meditation commentary very shortly. Before that, we've got time for any more questions or any observations of any self-awareness, anything that you feel you're going to put into practice that's been helpful. And I'm going to share screen one more time. Please, anyone unmute and share. And I'm just putting this quote up: the most precious gift we can offer anyone is our attention. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers. So the first thing is to be mindful of self and then mindful of others. So I'm aware of time, so I'm going to stop sharing. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask before I go offer a guided meditation? No? Okay. So we will have one more session in 2 weeks' time, and the homework is to really practice your identifying your needs and your feelings, practicing authentic communication, transforming negative false beliefs into positive ones and start using them more, and have the courage to practice listening with somebody you trust. Yes, so you can practice the I statements. So lots to experiment with. So I'd like to invite you now to sit comfortably, relax, and you can gently soften your eyes and focus on a picture on the screen that will come up shortly. This is a beautiful meditation on love. Welcome on this inner journey of exploring the heart of I, the soul. I breathe in slowly and breathe out. Relax and let go. I take my attention away from this physical body, the sacred temporary temple for I, the soul. I focus within the center of the forehead. I breathe deeply in again and allow the air to flow out gently. Imagine you are sitting in a beautiful white room full of light and space. As you look around this inner room, this inner sanctuary, you begin to relax and let go more of any tension, fears, or worries. Experience waves of pure energy, of compassion, love, and gentleness flow towards you and around you. Enveloping you in a safe, nurturing cocoon. As you relax deeper and deeper into this safe, nurturing cocoon, you become aware of the presence of a gentle being who radiates peace, love, and harmony from their eyes. You experience relaxing more deeply and releasing a fear that has affected your well-being. With courage, look at this old fear. It may be in the form of a shape, symbol, color, or sound. See with inner vision. Understand the message it is sharing with you. Maybe an old negative belief or judgment of self that you are now ready to see with the eyes of eternal truth and know that it is no longer true and no longer belongs to you. You are now ready to release. You are now ready to release into the ocean of love unconditionally. Experience yourself expanding, feeling freer and lighter. Your inner heart begins to heal and fill with love, compassion, and light. Your inner wisdom, joy, and creativity re-emerges. May you see the world with wonder. May your heart be kind and loving. May you be full of peace and meaning. May your heart be touched with wisdom, with a heart of human kindness. Embrace the heart within. Embrace the love within. When dreams are pure, then God will be your guide. May your life be full of goodness. May you walk with joy and happiness. May your life be full of freedom. See the world with wonder, and your inner beauty grow. Embrace the light, embrace the love within. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much for your calming, warm, and comforting presence. And I'd like to apologize to everyone for some of the sound issues, but I would have loved if we caught your whole meditation. Maybe we can, in the recording, we might be able to fix that. So, Sister Masana, I took a lot from this, and very much from that image you had of how about moving from our comfort zone and moving past our fear zone and take it as learning, and then from growth. Growth, I suppose we experience success. Often when we break through with courage, we do experience success and we grow from it. So that's very much often a cycle I go through myself. So I relate very much to that. And also I love the non-violent communication practices. I've actually done it before, and it's something I also feel very close to me because it really helps to break barriers in relationship. And once we can create harmony and understanding, it's like gold, I would say. So, Sister Masana, maybe you could provide like the best handout, like a very clear step and examples of how to go through the 4 steps. If you have it, we could also email out to everyone who has registered something to keep with them.
In fact, when using the resource, going on the NVC resource, which hopefully you've put in the chat and sent to everyone,
Yeah.
if people go through it, they'll get not only the vocabulary, they will get examples of making a request. So it's already there. They just need to scroll through the different
Okay.
levels.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, as Sister Masana mentioned just now, the next session, which is also a workshop on how to heal stuck emotions, will be in 2 weeks' time on the 23rd of November, same time as today. So we will send out that information to you since you have registered. And we very much look forward to having you. And thank you so much for your participation today. It was lovely to hear, you know, all of you sharing. And I also participated in the breakout room, which was really good. So thank you so much. And just to add, I might invite all of you to put on your camera as well as turn on the gallery mode so you can see everyone. And we'll just remove spotlight and maybe just say goodbye. And Sister Masana would be able to see you all as well. So thank you so much. Yes, we will be sending out the recording indeed.
Beautiful to see everyone, shining faces. Keep on looking after yourselves and shine the light with others.
So thank you, everyone, and until next time.
Thank
Have a
you.
lovely day. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you very much.
All the blessings, Sister Masana.